Welcome to Comics Experiment. Oh, but it's actually Absolute Comics. As many of you know who watch the various podcasts that I produce here at the Comic Story and Podcast Network, there is a show called Absolute Comics in which me and Sal sit down to talk about the latest, greatest news in the comic book industry. Right now, San Diego Comic-Con at home is happening, which means that we have a lot of news to talk about. So instead of doing a Comics Experiment, since there was nothing to tie that episode into, we decided to once again bring you a news roundup with my news co-host, Sal, from Comic Pop, where you can find him having long-form discussions about comic books with his co-hosts. This episode is brought to you by The Sandman over at Audible. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the middle of today's episode. But if you want to check it out, it's audible.com/The Sandman. Come on, guys. It's Sandman on an audio drama. I didn't do it, so they got to do a better one. Like that, like they gotta do the better one. That's what I'm talking. Anyway, Absolute Comics. So next week we'll be back to a normal episode of Comics Experiment. But because San Diego's happening, Sal and I are going to go through some of the latest, greatest news, which is our first topic. Sal, why is this list so short?
Because it's San Diego. I found that the split, like Marvel going all Disney and being like, well, if anything's interesting, we'll drop it at D23, and DC being like, we got this fandom experience. There's no way we should drop anything that's of any import over on San Diego if we have our own entire San Diego Comic-Con coming up.
Right.
That being said, they did drop a couple of things. Plus, of course, the San Diego Comic-Con is at home, at Comic-Con at Home, where it's all pre-recorded panels, nothing live, nothing impactful. Oh, but also there were the Eisners, which were hacked, and so everyone who won is kind of questioning whether they actually got their Eisner or whether they kind of just got their Eisner because of voting inconsistencies. One winner actually relinquished their Eisner last night. Was like,
did they?
I didn't earn it. I don't want to wonder if I deserve this Eisner, so I will not accept it. And I was like, dude, take the win.
I would.
Right? I mean, like, I would say, like, it sucks that I can't be 100%, but that's going on my shelf.
Yeah, exactly. I got one. But we'll talk a little bit more about the current state of San Diego Comic-Con, if we think it's going to be continuing next year, if this may be the official the nail on the door, like what happened with E3. We're going to discuss all of that afterwards. Just in case you wanted to know what actual news came out, let's start with the news, and then we'll do speculation and opinions, all that stuff about the current state of Comic-Con and the fact we're still doing these virtual things without the proper sets. And we'll talk about all that at the end, okay? So
sounds good.
Let's start with the top. DC's next event, Endless Winter, will begin at the end of 2020. It's been confirmed to be the next major event with specific details not being released. Now, I was going to say, isn't this going to collide with Death Metal?
I don't know when Death Metal will end. If we're on issue 2, how many issues of Death Metal are we getting? 6?
I'm looking right now because it's on the wiki because
Good.
Scott Snyder put it out.
And by the way, if you wanted to know more about Scott Snyder's opinion about Death Metal and see us interact with him, you can watch the last episode, which is on your main channel as well.
Yep. You again. So if you don't like Sal, wait till next week.
There's a lot of people being like, done. But yeah, no, Endless Winter, I don't know if it's going to coincide with it, collide with it, or overlap with it, but I know that Endless Winter is probably the thing that they whipped up during the 3-month break, because 5G ain't happening no more. And I'm still seeing people go, hey, wait a minute, wasn't 5G supposed to happen? Where's 5G? And I'm like, dude, it's over.
Yeah, it ain't happening. It's just not happening. I'm looking at the release.
No.
So Death Metal 6 and 7 will release in November and January.
Oh, and this is going to happen
in
at the end of December. So yeah, it will overlap with Death Metal.
The question is, will it make sense, or is it going to be one of those?
Oh, you see, it's you're damned if you do, if you damned if you don't. Where let's say it takes place after Death Metal, you could have a Secret Wars situation where if there's any delays, you've just ruined the ending of this event.
Right.
Or it doesn't matter, and so people don't care about Endless Winter because really the main event is still Death Metal.
I wonder if... So Death Metal 6 will come out December. That's when Endless Winter is supposed to start.
Yes.
What if, to try and not lose people at the end of Death Metal, they're giving us all the Endless Winter preludes?
That would be smart. To kind of hype you for it.
Right. Like, technically,
Without-
Endless Winter 1 will release in December. But what if Endless Winter 1 directly ties into what just happened in Death Metal number 6?
Yeah.
And it doesn't spoil anything. It's basically Death Metal's going to end next issue, but before it ends, this is the kickoff of the next thing. So kind of like where DC Metal ended and we went to Justice League No Justice, what if they started up like at the same time as they were ending? Like maybe to prevent the disconnect.
Right.
My
and to
event is
keep
over.
people excited.
Yeah.
Right? Because like people are going to spend their money on an event. Conceivably, that's why we have events.
And Scott Snyder did tell us they're far enough in advance they're not worried about delays.
Right. And that's so smart and so great. And hey, Endless Winter could be the thing where it's like, well, we had 3 months, we developed this. Remember, neither Marvel nor DC furloughed any of their artists or writers. So like for 2 months of no comics, people could have been doing an entire event that they're waiting to put out in December. That'd be cool. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what the hell Endless Winter is. I remember somebody, when we delayed the recording of this episode, somebody was like, talk about Endless Winter. And I'm like, there's nothing. We know what it's called, and I think we can kind of presume.
There's not even any superheroes in it.
No, it's just a logo.
Yeah, the promo art is just a logo. There's not even like normally with an event they'll be like Death Metal. Look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. This was like Endless Winter.
Font. It looks like it looks like the subheading for Frozen 3.
Oh no.
Like Frozen 3 Endless Winter. It really does look like that. And I'm like, okay,
Are they putting Elsa on the Justice League?
Yeah, this is the DC Marvel crossover you did not expect. I don't know. I know somebody was like, isn't this just Final Night 2? And I'm like, we don't know anything about Endless Winter. I don't know. I'm okay with this. You know what's fun about this idea? Endless Winter. Everything's cold. The Earth's gonna freeze. Whatever. That feels like an event or a story that really kind of doesn't do the thing that DC's been doing for the last 5 years, which is just like every event is the biggest thing and everything's gonna blow up. The whole universe is gonna explode tomorrow. Unless the Justice League act. Like, if it's like the Earth freezes, okay. Like, I'm, you know what? Just for the audacity of saying everything's cold, I'm like, I'll check that out. Why not? Like, okay.
You just want to punt it up?
Yeah. I'm totally in.
Wonder Woman's feeling overly frigid.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Freeze could drill to the center of the Earth and freeze the Earth's core. Captain Cold could get nigh cosmic powers and freeze the universe. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect.
All the cold-based villains team up?
Right, and it's just that. It's just a team of cold villains, and they're just rolling like a blizzard across the DC landscape. I'm okay with that.
I'm googling DC cold villains to see. Okay. So it's a combo of Captain Cold, Killer Frost, Mr. Freeze, Icicle, Golden Glider, Ice, Mr. Blizzard, and somebody called Snowman. Why is Golden Glider on there? Is she snow-based? She's just there because Captain Cold's there. She'll be the one non-ice-based villain.
She just has a coat, and she's like, this sucks.
Apparently Snowman is a half Yeti, half ice, half man. Claus, Chris. That's 3 halves, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
He was the first villain on the countdown. What countdown? What the? Yeah, he's a real villain. He appeared in Batman 337. He kills 2 men before facing Batman and eventually falling off a cliff. So he could be around.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow. He's pretty generic looking, but like that means he's ripe for a redesign.
He looks like a melting snowman.
Yeah. Okay, now we've figured it out. We're calling it now. Main villain of Endless Winter is Snowman. Because you wouldn't see him coming. I think that sounds great.
If that's true, what do we get? What do we get, Sal? What does the chat
right? I don't know. What would the chat be? What's the chat in a position to give us? I feel like
emotes.
We should
to give us more emote spams.
Yes. Just spam it with snowballs and icicles and I don't know, more snow-based emotes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Endless Winter. Woo!
All right, so Empire event will be the literal war of the worlds between the Kree, Skrulls, Kotati, and the Earth. According to Dan Slott, you'll see major ramifications for the Fantastic Four, for the Cosmos, and for the Magic Universe, the Marvel Universe, the entire Marvel Universe. I read the first issue of Empire. I was not blown out of my socks like I was kind of expecting a Dan Slott major event to be. And I think the primary reason is he's doing Fantastic Four-centric event, which on one hand is cool. On the other hand, we just got them back, Dan. We don't want you making earth-shattering changes to them.
Right. Well, I mean, at the same point, I will say it's Avengers Fantastic Four, so we got a lot of big changes. We got a lot of restorations of character from Empire. I'm the guy who digs Empire. I loved the Prelude issues, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers Empire #0 issues. And I dug the first issue. Like you, I was a little underwhelmed, or maybe not underwhelmed, but I was thrown off by how not epic this epic is.
Right, okay, that's my problem. Okay.
It just kind of felt like a Marvel story, which, again, I don't want to, complain too loudly because I need Marvel and DC to both, cool it for a minute. Everyone needs to kind of, dial it down. And
are you aware of what Death Metal's doing?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that, if Death Metal's doing its own thing and everyone just has to get out of its way, but, if DC wants to do a story about where everything's cold and Marvel wants to do an interstellar war with two races that and tree people that are all gonna die, I'm in. That sounds kind of fun and it looks kind of cool, and I'm down for my heroes to unite and fight against a common enemy, and the enemy isn't themselves. That sounds nice. I'm okay with this, especially because the Kotati are clear. After Empire #1, we know who the enemy is. I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't read Empire #1, but we know who the enemy is for this event. We know what the stakes are, and we know who the players are. It's the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. I'm down. I think that sounds fun. Plus, you get the really neat idea of there is a new element of tree people who use plant-based technology, including teleporters, and you're getting an X-Men tie-in. How will the Kotati interact with Krakoa? Is there going to be a thing? I'm down for that.
Are the islands going to have sex? Inquiring minds need to know.
Yeah, when are these trees going to have sex with each other? Because we've already gotten 2 islands totally boning thanks to X-Men and Hickman. When are we? Maybe that's the end. Maybe the big surprise is the Kotati and Krakoa become an interspecies tree thing. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I think that sounds fun. It just seems kind of like a standard Marvel event where my characters can act like the characters they're supposed to be and achieve a common goal of high-flying superheroics and battles.
Okay. Like the MCU. That's one thing I always find weird. The MCU always did these 2-hour button-up, we're going to go fight Ultron. Oh, no, there are some ramifications, but don't worry, the Avengers win kind of an attitude, right?
I was literally thinking about that.
And you go to the comic book, and it's everyone's dead. It's all dark and dreary. It's going on for 4 years.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it, we're so dark, we're going to make a superhero named Safe Space and Snowflake. Why does nobody want this?
Well, there was a lot of behind that, but I you know what's funny? I was just thinking about Ultron today, where I was like, what a standalone movie Ultron is. Ultron technically is fueled by the Infinity Gem, but at the same time, it's just everything feeds into itself. Everything is connected, and then it's and how about this evil robot? And at no point at the end game battle is no one remember when we just used to fight that big robot?
Yeah, I know. He was sinking an island. Instead, we're doing this whole time travel thing.
Right, exactly. There's a lot going on. Yeah, in the time travel element, nobody's let's go back and not invent Ultron. No one wants to talk about Ultron, which I think is kind of fun. But yeah, it's like MCU. But for me, it's more like old Marvel. Old Marvel where if there's a threat to the Earth, the heroes team up and fight it. Right. They don't fight each other, or it turns out one of them is a sleeper agent that blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm all for that kind of thing. I like nuance in my story. Yes. But I'm all for that. And I like that idea. But if you do it too much, it all becomes kind of uniform and you lose your perspective. Your heroes are heroes. Treat them like it. Right. And Empire seems like a good palate cleanser for Marvel, where it's hey, listen, we've had some missteps over the last few years. Here's the Fantastic Four, all 4 of them, and here's the Avengers. You know, the ones you recognize. And they're going to fight aliens. They're not going to pass legislation. They're not going to kill each other. Like, you know what I mean? They're just going to fight aliens.
Well, you know what? It just
I'm
doesn't
on
sound
board.
fun to me, Sal.
No, it is fun.
No,
Trust me.
this is not fun enough for me. I think I got to pass on this one. I need legislation to be passed.
Yeah, you need it to have like real world ramifications. I need to know about like, but can it be also a meta commentary on surveillance or like or city states like or theology? Like, no, just make it about fighting aliens. This is the same thing. I remember during a time when everyone was upset at Marvel, they came out with this really cool event called Monsters Unleashed, and nobody read it. And it was just like, what if the Avengers all teamed up and fought monsters? Like, and no one read it. And it's like, it's the thing you were asking for in the first place.
Yeah. Monsters Unleashed was great. I loved it.
It looked cool. It was fun.
It was good until they tried to make a superhero out of it. Like, oh, Kaiju Kid. Like,
yeah. Pass. No, Monster
Kaiju
Unleashed
Kid lives on an island until Marvel needs Kaijus again.
Like, Monsters versus Marvel. That's what I wanted to see for a summer blockbuster. I don't want an ongoing series about, like, a kid who's in human power. First of all, Inhumans again? But, like, you know, who's in human powers.
Donny Cates killed them.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, he did. He killed him dead. I really enjoyed the death of Inhumans.
Okay, I got a quick question because you mentioned like you might have. Is the comic book that involves Safe Space and Snowflake going away?
I assume it's canceled.
Like it was like it was making all kinds of headlines, and for the record, I didn't see anyone siding with that comic. Because it was like the crazy alt-right like comics gay people were like, what is wrong with you, Marvel? But then the crazy left-wing SJWs were like, you're just insulting us.
Yes. Yeah, like, don't patronize me.
Like, I remember all the announcements that they were doing interviews and they were all excited. They're going to have those two. They're going to have that kid that was a social media guy. Like, it was the whole thing.
Screen time, I think. It felt really forced. It felt really arbitrary. It felt disingenuous. Like, nothing about it told me like this is a story that needs to be told. It was like it even if it was meant with the most pure circumstance, it sounded like the like Marvel's making fun of everyone, and it was like that is not how you engender goodwill with your audience.
I almost felt like. Because all the interviews had like the editors and stuff in it. I almost felt like no one even wanted to own up to this project. They were like, CB Sadowski, you go talk about this thing. No one wants to talk about this thing.
Yeah, they did have I think the writer was talking about it in one of the videos, in one of the most like notoriously downvoted videos in YouTube history.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kid Vampire or B Negative, I think was his name.
Yeah, B Negative. Yeah, where he's like Morbius's son or who knows? Who cares? I don't think it's happening. If it is happening, you'll get like 2 issues and then they're just going to silently cancel it.
It was Screen Time wasn't one of their names. It was. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. One of them had one of them was like he got hit by internet gas and so he could like constantly it's that he like, you know, we're trying to teach people about the dangers of screen time.
There he is. It's Screen Time.
Yeah, but it's endless screen time. For him, it's screen time 24/7. And I'm like, nothing about what you're saying is cool or fun. Like
they made me Google this. So the lineup was
yes,
it was there was the girl. There was Snowflake and Safe Space, Screen Time, B Negative, Trailblazer. That was Trailblazer. Yeah, that was the. I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm insulting somebody, but I'm definitely not. But it looked like their attempt at faith. It was an overweight black woman who had a magic backpack. Like,
yeah, that's right. She had a magic backpack, and they were selling that like that's a really good idea. They're like, she's got a magic backpack, and I'm like,
cool. She played D&D. Like
what? Like, so I don't know. Just and like I can already feel the comments, and it's just like a bad idea is a bad idea. Regardless of your political leanings,
right?
And it felt a little on the nose, and it's like if you want to affect change or evoke a feeling or send out a message. You can do it with subtlety, or you could do it with a sledgehammer. And that's what the New Warriors was. And they were like, no, it's, you know how the New Warriors was a team for the 90s. Well, this is a team for now. And it's like, yeah, but don't you know how dated it looks when you have a book with a big starburst on it that says the team of the 90s? Like, you'll never sell that book.
It almost felt like, I don't know how to say it. Like the whole idea just felt weird in general. Like, the fact that in order to describe the superhero, I had to preface it with, it's going to sound like I'm insulting her, but I'm not. Like, that should tell you the problem with that book.
Yeah. Like, I don't know who it's... Well, the thing is, you know who it's for? It's for people who don't read comics.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I hear you. And I understand because, listen, like, I hate to shatter anyone else's worldview out there, but, like, the comic book industry has been trying to get people who don't read comics to buy comics since it started.
Yeah.
So, like, don't feel like you're being left out because there's still going to be Batman and Spider-Man comics for you to pick up. But, like, at the very least, they went, let's use new characters that are original, that are over here. Like, they don't go, we're going to, like, look at the difference between New Warriors and the Gotham High book, where they were like, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to get a very different audience that doesn't read comics and appeal to people who don't read comic books with these books. On one hand, we'll use established characters and make them completely different from what they usually are, so they fit a mold that people might appeal to people who don't read comics. And on the other, it's like we're going to create whole new characters, and it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you, like, how are they supposed to make their money? Are they supposed to make it by making Batman more appealing to, like, whatever demographic Gotham High is supposed to appeal to?
Yeah.
Or are they going to try and get people to read Marvel Comics by making the New Warriors a team of characters that I don't know who they're supposed to appeal to? Like, but if they're making genuine efforts to do that, you know, you can't always fault them for trying.
I don't fault them for trying. I just felt like it to me, honestly, it just sounded like a bunch of 40-year-old comic book writers going, how are we going to get in touch with the kids nowadays? They like the internet. And they're all about social justice, so let's make a team like that.
Right. Like, well, and I remember them talking about how, like, Snowflake and Safe Space were, like, their headliners because, like, they're like, people use those terms derogatorily, so we're going to own... Like, these are characters who own it. And I'm like, no. Like, you as, like, a 45-year-old man are not going to, like, take it back for the youth.
Right.
By making a character who has no agency or any expectations or any context within your universe and make them go like, here I am and you better deal with it. Like, there's no weight to that, you know? It's one thing to do that, and it's another to be like, here is an engaging, interesting, fun, original, well-rounded black Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, like, that is another, like, element of, like, we're making something to appeal to everyone, but also to, like, reach out to a different demographic of comic book reader. And it worked. And it's like, one came from a genuine place of creativity, and it seems like the other one came from a committee that was like, check all the boxes. We're gonna use all these names, we're gonna use all these weird designs, and we're gonna just put them into boxes that we think are relevant for specifically this year. Like, there's nothing enduring or interesting about the New Warriors, unfortunately. So,
all right, let's get back to the actual topics instead of a little rant about the New Warriors.
I know, right? Like, that. And how long ago was that?
Okay, so this Exoswords will have a lot. Exoswords will have a lot to come for a certain mutant who doesn't get the spotlight. Douglas Ramsey, aka Cypher. That's cool, but they also said it's not gonna end well, Sal. Exoswords.
I know. I saw that quote,
and I was just thinking to myself, like, has it ever for the X-Men?
Yeah, I have yet to see a happy ending for the X-Men.
Guys, the new X-Men event, things are gonna go shitty at the end. we might kill an X-Man. We got 500 of them, so it might be one you know, might not be. There might be a gangbang because Jonathan Hickman's writing it. A core member of the X-Men that you didn't think got any kind of, like, limelight, Cypher. He's going to be important. But you know what? We've also made, like, every X-Men important right now because that's probably the one good thing Jonathan Hickman's doing, where he's like, you know what we don't need? Wolverine in 9 books.
Right. one book,
Yeah.
and it like comes out whenever it feels like it. I
I'm
have
not
no idea what
crazy
that
on that,
schedule
right?
is.
Like I was thinking about the other
It
day.
feels like that.
I've been, like the last week, I've been trying to play catch up on comics that started coming out, and I wasn't tracking them. And I'm like, so we're on issue 3 of Wolverine? Like,
Yeah, like how is that possible? How are we not on issue 50 already?
yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that.
And for the
there's-
record, we're talking about the X-Men where death means nothing. Like,
Right.
Jonathan Hickman took away the ultimate. Like, at least normally, if someone died in the X-Men, we had at least 6 issues before they'd have an alien being take over their body and revive them.
Yeah, but they did kill one. They killed one, and they were like, we can't bring her back, and we have no idea why.
Wait, which one was
That's
that?
interesting. Kitty Pryde.
See, that's how out of the loop I am as X-Men. One of my favorite X-Men died, and I'm like, what?
Well, they killed her in a book there's no way you were reading. And but like in every other book where she might come up, they bring her up and they're like, she's dead and we've tried and we can't bring her back.
Huh.
That's interesting. Like that's actually interesting because we killed a character that you might care about in a world where death doesn't matter, but this time she can't. Why? Now it's a mystery.
Right. Okay.
Like, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, how could 10 of Swords end well? X/10 of Swords can't possibly end well because that's not where Hickman's stopping. It's not like Hickman's like, this is my final word on the X-Men. This is just the setup to the next big thing. This is time runs out for the X-Men. This is whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's not the Secret Wars of X-Men yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So like it's just another event that will be cool, but also ultimately play second fiddle to the big finale of Hickman's X-Men.
Next up, related to that, the X-Eternals are returning as the High Lords, and they can only be killed with a sword through their heart, and there are 10 of them. There's 10 swords.
Oh, what? Yeah, well, the Externals did come back because they brought everyone back. Like, we saw them all in the big splash page when they all walked onto Krakoa at the end of Hox or Pox. So, like, yeah, we know. So I guess 10 of Swords is about the X-Men versus the Externals.
Makes sense.
That's cool. Good.
Moving down the line here, we have Darth Vader's new comic will tie into the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh. Why?
I'm reading to see what it could do.
Yeah.
Vader's going to do stuff that will be a part of a new quest or journey and tie into Episode 9.
Okay, so like something will happen in Episode 9, or like, you know, that we didn't see.
Maybe he's going to set up Palpatine and how he got to there. That's all I could think of.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I haven't read a lot of Darth Vader in a while. It is a good, like, it has been a good series, but you know, I think the smart money is on not referencing those movies anymore.
I love the amount of rumors floating around that they're going to just get. I've seen George Lucas is coming back. Don't know why he would want to. I've seen Kathleen Kennedy's out, and they're going to retcon out 7, 8, and 9. To which I'm kind of like, that sounds like a lot of work when Disney could just say, "We're just done. Here's the new stuff." You know,
Yeah.
like.
Right.
It's
like,
Disney. They did this to begin with. I don't think they're now in hindsight going, bro, we should have planned out 3 movies.
Well, and like, why would Disney retcon out the movies they made when they could have started by retconning out the movies they didn't make
Yeah.
and undo the prequels and just redo them?
I don't know. It seems like like I get the fandom, and I'm a Star Wars fan, and I get the fandom, like the dream of like, please just bring us what we wanted. I get that.
Yeah.
I 100% do. And if they did it, and I'll bite my tongue, and I'll be like, thank you. I will say
Right.
that. I will.
Yeah.
I just
I'm
don't
so
see
disappointed.
corporate entity Mickey Mouse sitting around one day going, wow, guys, we really botched that whole Star Wars thing. Let's just retcon them out.
Well, the worst thing is you can't even like do them effectively, because if you were to realistically do like, okay, we're redoing 7, 8, and 9. Carrie Fisher's gone.
Yeah.
Lando will probably not be around by the time we do that. Harrison Ford's not going to say yes again.
No.
So like,
Okay, but you guys got to kill me again.
right, and you'd have to really massage the ego of Mark Hamill, because like you did him wrong in those movies.
And he straight up said, I'm unhappy with how you handle my character.
Right, and we know you like working with J.J. Abrams, who, as it turns out, is just a horrible architect for your universe.
No. He makes a box, and what's in the box is up
and
to
you know what's in the box? I don't know.
He didn't even tell Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, you can't. I like J.J. Abrams' directing, and I think he makes good movies. I think that like if you eliminate the mystery box angle of them and just like look at them as like works of art, it's like he knows how to like set up action, he knows how to pace things, and he knows how to direct actors, and that's what a director's supposed to do. But if you like have you need to, if you're gonna plan a trilogy, plan it. Yeah. Set up what's gonna happen in the third one, please, before you start working on the first one. That's all you got to do. It's why I'm like kind of okay with J.J. Abrams working on the DC movies, because I'm like, I think he knows from the failure of Star Wars that he can make.
He's done this multiple times.
No, but like he didn't learn from Lost because he did the same thing as Lost to Star Wars.
I know what I'm saying. He's done this multiple times. I'm kind of surprised his Spider-Man book concluded.
It didn't.
Oh, wait, I'm not crazy then, right?
It just never came out.
It's 4 out of 5, and we just didn't get 5.
No, and don't forget, like his son is working on it too, so it's not all J.J. Abrams. But yeah. Also, if you just wanted to cancel that book,
is it canceled
no one would miss it. I don't. Well, it's not over yet. Like I don't think the issue came out, but like I doubt it's canceled. They put a lot of hype and money into that book.
Oh yeah. They delayed the final issue again. It's just it's on an indefinite hiatus right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because they just don't. Well, they don't know when he's gonna come back and help his son write this Spider-Man book nobody asked for.
It's not, for the record, I don't mind it. It's just one of those things.
It's not terrible.
But it's like you said, like, no one asked for this. You're not making a new Spider-Man. You're just making his son becoming Spider-Man. It's a cool concept, but we've technically got this story with Mayday. Like, this isn't a unique story. It's not a unique concept. It's not something we've never seen before. Mayday has been created like 9 times.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Dan Slott's Mayday. We have Tom DeFalco's Mayday. We have, like, non-related to Peter Parker. You know, we got Aranya. We got 3 other Spider-Women. Like, no. So, yeah. I'm not excited about Star Wars at this point. I think the comics probably have a better shot of being interesting than the
comics
movies
and the books have always been more interesting.
Well, and
even in the George Lucas era, they were always more interesting.
I gotta say, and I know this is like not like I don't care who I piss off when I say The Mandalorian is great, but let me tell you something.
Oh, it's amazing.
The Mandalorian is, for me, one like top 3 best Star Wars visual anything.
Oh, it is. It is. I think it takes it. Like it. That is up. Mandalorian is up there for me as like I like Return of the Jedi, Mandalorian. Like that's
for me. It's Empire, A New Hope, Mandalorian.
I can't get behind this Empire love. I can't. Everyone's like, Empire's the greatest, whatever. It starts in the middle of the story. It ends in the middle of the story. I think you only like it because it doesn't tell like a whole story. It's just
no. I like it because it's excellently portrayed and all the characters. It's such an expansion. Like A New Hope is a fairy tale, and then Empire Strikes Back is like here. It adds to it without diminishing it or making it like less exciting, and isn't afraid to give you new stuff. You know, nobody moves anything with the Force until Empire.
I mean, Empire does have its things. I just hate how everyone's like, best movie ever. Like, it's not. Yeah. I mean, Phantom Menace, man. Empire. Phantom Menace is better than Empire. I'm just those eyes.
Yeah, I know what you're doing, and I'm not going to get baited into it.
You want to watch Spider-Man 2 after this?
I like Spider-Man 2. Which one? Amazing Spider-Man 2? Pass. But Spider-Man 2... You know,
don't you want to watch
who doesn't love Alfred
2-hour trailer for movies that never became existent?
Yeah, let me just watch that loop of the end with that random guy walking past all the Sinister Six costumes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that ending.
Sweet.
All right, so moving on.
Yep.
This is a fun episode. This is what happens when we have almost nothing to talk. For the record, guys,
this is Saturdays.
We're almost done with our list. Like that's why the next topic is going to be what happened. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible and their new Audible original, The Sandman. Based on the best-selling DC graphic novels written by Neil Gaiman and adapted and directed by Dirk Maggs, The Sandman is now available to listen to on Audible. Hailed by the Los Angeles Times Magazine as the greatest epic in the history of comic books, follow Morpheus the Dream Lord as he's pulled from the dream realm and imprisoned on Earth. When he finally escapes, he must restore his power to rebuild his dominion. And that's just the start. This audio adaptation is decades in the making and stars James McAvoy in the title role with a powerhouse ensemble cast, including Riz Ahmed, Kate Dennings, Michael Sheen, and more. Listen to The Sandman now only on Audible. Go to audible.com/The Sandman to check out this amazing Audible original. That's audible.com/The Sandman. Okay, so Darth Vader comic in Italian. Excalibur writer speaks about conversation behind the doors. It's not going to end well. We discussed that when discussing X-Men, so that's fine. So now we're at the last topic. James Tynion talks about how he feels Batman had too much money and begun overreaching with his gadgets and technology. He explains that he doesn't like Bruce Wayne being the wealthiest man on the planet and plans to return it to his original state during and or after the Joker War as just a wealthy individual, not having unlimited funds all the time. I get what he's saying there. The only problem I'm gonna have is like Alfred's dead right now. Is Lucius gonna be like, "Oh, you've spent your monthly budget, Mr. Wayne,"
right? Like, I would assume that like Tynion seems to be like paring it down a little bit. So like maybe Lucius will leave or not be involved or do something else. I don't know. It's hard. The problem with Batman getting back to basics and him being wealthy as opposed to super rich is that like you can't be Batman the way that we are accustomed to Batman today and not have him have unlimited funds.
I mean, the Watchtower alone, the Hall of Justice. I'm just saying, like, maybe I got something. I'm not gonna crack the joke that everyone wants me to make right now. But
no, yeah, no.
I've been feeling tired, exhausted. I can't seem to get my. Like, seriously, maybe I did. I don't know.
Yeah,
I went out to the range. I shot some guns around people who don't believe in masks.
Well, then, yeah, I would. Well, we'll talk after the show. But yeah, I'm.
No, you know what? I'm not going to leave that on a joke. I don't want to leave that on a joke. I don't.
Okay.
I'm going to make a quick statement about the masks fast. Since we did that and it sounds like we're joking about it.
Sure.
100% do believe in masks. Here's the fact.
Yep.
Even if that only stops 1% of the potential contagions, that's 1%. And this disease, not only does it kill people, but it also, like, athletes are laid up for entire years having to retrain. It's like, what I don't understand is the mentality of I don't want to wear a mask when we know that the transmission method is through saliva and through the air, so the mask does prevent that. And then, like, dude, I don't want a cold. If you have the sniffles, Sal, I tell you not to come over.
That's right.
Like,
I've been like that before, where I'm like, ugh. Like, when I get a cold, I am angry at the universe.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't want a cold. I don't want the flu. I don't want any disease. So what blows my mind is the idea of, well, it's not that bad. I'm not going to wear a mask. Or my favorite, the Bill Gates conspiracies. But we'll talk about that another time. But,
no conspiracies for me. But like,
but it just blows my mind.
Wear a mask.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just wear a mask, because the fact of the matter is, even if it's 1%, even if it's just to make other people feel better, you're not being a dickhead human being. It's a mask. Like, it takes 2 seconds to throw on and 2 seconds to take off.
And if you're watching the show, you like superheroes.
Yeah.
Haven't you always wanted to wear a mask? Like, when I was a kid and I got a Spider-Man costume, I wore my Spider-Man mask all the time. And now it's socially acceptable to at least wear the bottom half. I can look like Scorpion. Get over here.
I don't know. The whole thing just is shifty to me. The attitude, and it's just so many things. But I just didn't want us to lead in with a joke and not follow and because I'm very adamant about the mask situation.
Yeah.
Natalie has a disease where she's susceptible to stuff, but even if she didn't, the fact of the matter is, even if it only blocks 1%, I don't even want a cold. I don't want whatever you're passing around. And I live in an area where we're not having a surge, and I still wear a mask when I go out. Like,
and the thing is, here in Jersey, like, we're doing pretty well. We're one of the few that are doing really well, and part of it is because we're all wearing masks and we're limiting our time outside, and that's the only way. I mean, like, just if you look at the facts, if you don't want to get a cold, don't go outside and deal with people. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just how it works. And wearing a mask is, like you said, if even if it only blocked a certain percentage, and it does. And the fact is, if someone's not wearing a mask and you are wearing a mask, it's not as effective. If you're both not wearing masks and you're maintaining social distancing, it's so much more effective. It's so much better for everybody. Obviously, if you can, the best case scenario is if you can afford to do this, stay at home.
Yeah.
Do your shopping online. Like just limit the amount of interaction entirely. But the mask is there are ways around it being uncomfortable, oppressive.
I've seen a lot of ideas like that to make it.
And it's not about like I don't understand the politicalization of like not just being courteous, but like being like health conscientious. Like it's just about preventing diseases. Part of the reason why South Korea had such a lid on it was because mask wearing when you are ill is normalized.
Yeah.
And it's not political. It's just about like common courtesy. It's like when you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. Like part of the reason why people stress wearing it, the reason why it's a rule that's on a sign at every restaurant you go to is not for them. It's not because we don't want you to get sick. It's because we don't want you to get other people sick.
And that's just it.
It's about other people.
There's the asystematic situation, but the fact that look, I'll straight up say it. When they say, it blocks 90% of transmissions if you're both wearing a mask and you're 6 feet apart, I don't believe that. But like I said, no, I don't. It's just way too high of a percentage for that to be true. But I will say, even if it blocks 1%, if you tell me, hey Benny, you have a 1 in 100 chance of getting other people sick if you don't wear a mask, I'll be like, okay, I'll wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's exactly that simple. So the reason I didn't want us to leave off on a joke, but it also leads into our next topic very well, because San Diego Comic-Con, what is going on? There's Marvel and DC barely gave any news. They're moving on to their own conventions, and what I'm worried about is San Diego going to go the route of E3 now, where they straight up canceled this year? And there's the questions if this is going to come back, because Microsoft and Sony and everyone left. They were like, what? When your biggest names in your industry aren't willing to go to your show, what do you do?
Yeah. Right. Well, and the problem I see is massive conventions, particularly comic book related, require the attendance and the participation of everybody because the industry is small.
Yeah.
So Dark Horse and Image and Boom Studios and independent comic book artists and writers and merchants all get to go to this big, massive event that is not just a celebration, but also a trade show about comics, because it's supported by the largest arms of the industry, Marvel, DC, and those industries thereof. If Marvel and DC go, we're so big, we really don't even need to participate in any of these conventions.
That's going to hurt the smaller industry.
No one's
Sal,
going to...
I'm not going to San Diego Comic-Con if they're like, come and check out the new Boom announcement. I can watch that from home. You know what I mean? But if I'm there, I'll go check out the new Boom announcement. But
hell yeah.
I'm not going to room, board, food, travel for the Boom. Because also, unless writers and artists from Marvel and DC are on other projects, they're not going to be at the show.
Right.
It's going to be me and Sal walking around talking to indie artists, which not a terrible experience.
Admittedly dope.
But it's very expensive.
Yeah. Every convention I've ever gone to, I have gone to at a loss. I've never made money at a convention.
Right.
Ever. And it's just about networking and participating in the collaborative experience of a convention, which is worth, for me, a financial sacrifice.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I called you last year, so a lot of people don't realize
you were almost not going to go, right? So
last year, I've never gone to San Diego Comic-Con before last year, and the argument was simple. We meet with people in New York, we meet with people in Baltimore. I didn't need network connections, and if we don't have work, I don't like large crowds, guys. If you ever catch me at a con and I'm beelining across, it's because my PTSD's kicked in and I don't want to be there anymore. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to cause problems, but I'm uncomfortable, so I leave. That's all it is. So I don't like the idea of going to San Diego because of the amount of people that are there. I called up Sal last year and I'm like, dude, I made a terrible mistake. The amount of people and things that happen here and how big this is, we need to have been coming to this every year. I even told you, even if we cannot get press badges and no one will give us badges, we are coming just to meet with people outside. Restaurants. And I literally called them and told them that. So I was a little sad when it was canceled this year and we couldn't go through with our plan of this being the first year Absolute Comics came out here. But...
Yeah. But like it is imperative. And if Marvel and DC were to go, we're too big for our britches. Marvel's got D23, DC. If this fandom experience works out, you can pretty much guarantee DC will probably not be doing conventions anymore.
Yeah.
Because they'll have their own convention that is entirely supported by the multinational conglomerate of AT&T and Warner Brothers supporting them.
Yeah.
Because, like, look at the fandom experience. They're like, it's unprecedented. You've never seen it before. But it makes sense because it's like, it's one company that owns all the shit. Why not do it all and put it all in one place? Like, why shouldn't Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson be talking about Shazam or Black Adam, and Jeff Johns be there to go like, and by the way, you can pick up the trade and like, get hype about all of it.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes perfect sense, but also there needs to be a kind of like sacrifice / understanding that like we're all in this together and the industry needs you in order to justify its existence. I would go to a Baltimore Comic-Con because Baltimore's a little smaller, where and by the way, Baltimore is like this actually right now, where Marvel and DC don't go to Baltimore, but Boom does. Like if Image and Dark Horse went to Baltimore and that was the big show, and artists and writers from Marvel and DC went just to kind of have their own booths.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better experience. I don't know, but like it would kill San Diego and New York. And I think that like it depends on the numbers. I think that based on what we've seen of Comic-Con at home from San Diego, I don't see this being the new trend, but I think we should be really watching for whether the fandom experience and what DC or Disney does with D23.
Yeah.
And that'll be the real indication. Because like you said, E3 has been gutted as a result. I mean, like PAX has got too big for their britches. Do we really need a PAX South?
No. Well, that was a complaint we had for a long time. Because like I would go to PAX South, I would go to all
PAX East, PAX West.
Yeah, and like there was no reason for any of them half the time, or they would they would choke each other. Like PAX South had no point for being there because all the big games came out. No one's gonna talk about any of them. Emerald City would get some of it. Like Emerald City. I mean, what would you say? It was San Diego, New York Comic Con, and Emerald City. That was the three you should do because there was the spring, summer, and winter, fall time frame, and that was that.
Yep. I mean, like, and there are some larger shows, WonderCon, for example. Baltimore is more of like a trade show, but like, yeah, the big three to attend are those. And so we're going to see, I mean, based on the way in which San Diego did this convention and how it's been received and what the numbers are, because I've seen the numbers for some of these videos that they've released of their panels, which are not live and pre-recorded. Like, come on, at least make it live, at least make it fun and make me feel like I'm part of an exclusive experience. That's the only reason people go. Because like if when they release trailers and then like they drop the trailer a couple seconds later online and it's like, why would I go to San Diego if I only want to watch trailers because they're just going to release the trailers in high def in my own living room a few minutes later? But like, people would stop going to San Diego if that were the norm, if that were the majority of people's response. And it's not. People want to go. They want to be part of the experience. And if you're going to make a virtual convention and all you need to do is coordinate schedules, and you can't even do that, you just record all this stuff early, why is it special? Why isn't San Diego just a YouTube channel that just like Sci-Fi Wire and just like produce stuff over on a constant year? Like Comic-Con all year, it's free and it never stops. And like every week. They tried that.
It was Comic-Con HQ and it was horrible.
Oh yeah, well, but they didn't have
it lasted
the global
like
pandemic.
6 months, and they had one show called The Con Man, which is the Alan Tudyk show, which I really enjoyed.
That's right.
But it's all they had.
Yeah. We reached out to them. We were like, hey, Comic-Con, we're online. And they're like, well, I think we understand how the internet works a little better than the people who make a living off the internet. And it closed 6 months later. So like, but they didn't talk to people from the internet. They did not like use the resources available to them. And that's what you get.
Comic-Con HQ was a weird experiment because I didn't see any promotion, any marketing, anything, and then it was lumped into that other thing that was a good idea but also didn't get any promotion or marketing. I think it was Verve or whatever, where they took all the little streaming and they put them all into one big platform, and it still didn't gain traction for people, and then they just quietly shut it down. Like
Right, exactly. Like so many things that we're going to see. I mean, like, DC Universe isn't offering annual memberships anymore.
That's
Wonder why.
that's a clear sign that they're going to be swallowed up by HBO Max. I still stand by. I think the whole thing was an experiment, and it worked.
Yep.
I think it did.
Right. Yeah, it was a way to produce shows for the CW. That was your theory.
Well, and it worked, and now they got the HBO Max shows, they got those shows. Like, I think it was just a way to prove, give these people money, and they'll make the shows that people will watch. And I personally think it worked.
I think it did, whether it was a conspiracy or whether it was a nefarious scheme to, prove to the studio that owns them that they could make their own shows. Either way, it did work, and it is hopefully the new norm for them, because I think people would much rather a Doom Patrol or a Swamp Thing versus Legends of Tomorrow or another half-assed Arrow show.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, CW's kind of going in their own direction, creating their own versions and everything.
They really are. Yeah, that's...
I wonder if that, because now they're doing a different version of Batwoman. And they're doing the different version of Arrow. And I wonder if that was part of it. CW's like, hey, we got a really good, Dare to Defy audience. We got the minorities. We've got the I guess, every single one of them. We got all the minorities, basically, watching our shows. They do. I mean,
yes.
I can't think of a group that goes to CW
that isn't getting represented.
Right, that's what I mean. I can't think of a group that'd be like, you're not representing me. I mean, we have the LGBTQ community. We have lesbian. We have trans. We have gay. They're all there. We have Black, Asian, Mexican, or Hispanic. My bad. I apologize.
Hispanic.
I corrected myself quickly.
You did.
I'm just trying to think of these in the rapid fire, because I was thinking Cisco.
No, it's true. Yeah. Right. Everyone is represented seemingly in the DC CW universe.
And of all the things in the CW universe where a lot of the times they're like, oh, there's so much representation, white people are gone. No, the main people are still white. So everybody has representation here.
Yeah. And it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And has no bearing on the movies, the comics.
Actually, Basil's got it. There's no Native Americans as far as I can remember. They got to.
Well, that's a sin.
Yeah, they got to fill that gap.
Yeah. There's a couple of DC characters. I'm not just thinking of Apache Chief, who are Native American and could be cool. But listen, you know what? I'm not knocking Apache Chief. He's dope.
I loved the safe, not thinking of Apache Chief.
Yeah, but you know what? He's dope. He gets really big. He can kick ass. He can turn into animals. I'm down. I'll watch an Apache Chief show.
Nice save.
I'm just saying, they have. It's not like they have to make up a character. Yeah. DC has characters, but yeah, I hope this isn't. I mean, I think we will be looking back and being remember the golden age when we were thriving as YouTube channels and we could go to a convention every single month. Anywhere in the whole continental United States.
Best time in my life ever was 5 years ago. Now I just sit in a cave in my basement playing Destiny all day.
Right.
Which, you know what, isn't bad. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, no complaints. It's not a cave with no lights or heat or electricity.
I'm good.
It's a house that you live in.
I just don't turn these on unless we're on a show.
Well, sure. That's right. I've been there. He doesn't.
I live off the illumination of my screens.
It's very true. It's hard.
Look
it's hard
how
to put
pale
your
I
shoes on.
am.
Yeah, your skin's getting a nice, healthy opaqueness. But I think that we will. I think this is a good indication that conventions are going to start shrinking again.
I think it was needed. I wish it wasn't because of this. I wish it was
too.
because of more situations like the Pennsylvania one we went to, Philadelphia Comic-Con. Where there's just so many and they're so stacked that was the reason. Where it's just
it was all Wizard World's fault.
Yeah.
You made them all homogenized and it was indistinguishable. The one in Richmond was the same as Philly, was the same as Columbus. It's all the same convention.
Oh no, 100%. No. All the PAXs, if you go to the PAXs, other than the hall looking different, they will literally look the same. And we also got to a point where Marvel, DC, Valiant, the Valiant booth is the exact same booth, the big booth with the big banners, and they're always in the middle. The Marvel booth is always the big red Marvel letters. They're always out in the middle of nowhere. Everything is literally the same because what it used to be is there'd be one big convention. So they would all make new stuff for one convention. But when you're trying to go to one every 3 months, you just have the road team and you just disassemble, reassemble, go. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. It's funny to see who bothers to go to what conventions also.
Yeah.
Nowadays. When we were at Denver. I think Dark Horse was there, but like nobody else was.
Valiant.
It was like
Valiant
was there too. But Valiant doesn't go to every show and can't afford to.
No, it's gotten to the point where nobody does it anymore. Like DC and Marvel stopped going to every show.
That's the thing, is it's not cost effective to go to every show.
No, in DC, I mean, every year and Marvel, since we've been going to New York Comic Con, which has been like 6 years, has been the exact same booth in the exact same location with the exact same setup every year.
Every year I am so shocked with respect to New York Comic Con that like the Marvel booth is always packed. I'm like, what are they telling you? Like, there is nothing here that is worth standing in this area.
That's the worst
shoulder
part.
To shoulder.
Every time you go to the Marvel booth, and it's been like this for 6 years, there's an app game on the right. It was Contest of the Champions, then it was Strike Force, then it was Future Fight. It's all.
Yep.
I play them all, but he knows I do.
I do. That's why they're at those booths. You have to go there and be like, "Hey, I'm Betty the Comic Store, and I play your video games."
I'd like the free character you're giving away.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always the Marvel art in the back of it, and then there's always the giant stage with nothing on it until they're doing like some MCU minor announcement. They never do a big announcement. They'll get some actor who happens to be in New York at that exact moment to come on stage and be like, "Hey guys, I'm in a movie."
You know how many times I've seen at the booth where they go, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D." At least 4.
It's the new Ghost Rider. What show were we at where they were revealing the car?
Oh man,
you know what I'm talking about, because we
must
walked
have been,
past it. We were like,
I wasn't
car.
I didn't go to C2E2, so it was probably that one.
They were doing an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel, and there was a car with a tarp on it in the front of it. And everyone's like, "Oh, the rumors are true! It's the Charger!"
Right, and admittedly, that's pretty cool. But like at that booth, it's just a mess, and it's a nightmare. And it's always like at the end of 2 other areas, so you got cross traffic plus the people who are just camped out there, and then they have the audacity to go like, "Hey, some of the top writers at Marvel are going to be doing a signing at the Marvel booth."
Yeah,
and it's like, but there's already 10,000 people stacked on top of each other in the way. I would like to meet this person and have them sign a comic book, please.
You know who always does
it best? And it's just impossible to get to them.
Image is always at the best setup for signings because they have a booth that is conveniently on 4 ways of traffic. It is all
complete square,
and it's all throughway traffic, flow traffic, basically. So when they do a signing, it's very easy for them to go, "The writer's here, line is going here on our booth," and that's that. And
yep. Yeah, writer's here, you're here. You go around the booth and get to the writer or artist. Yeah. And it was, unless it's Todd McFarlane, in which case, you're not going to get it. It's a raffle, you're not going to get in. I'm sorry. I've tried Robert 3 times or Robert Kirkman. By the way, really quick con story. Back when I thought that if you filmed interviews with comic book creators, it would grow your YouTube channel, I went to Baltimore Comic Con one of the first years, and I was just talking to random people, and I could have talked to Robert Kirkman, but I wanted to go home instead.
They were like a zombie book that'll never catch on.
It was literally, I was like, I don't care about werewolf or haunt, so I'm leaving. And that was it. And he was just like standing there. He's just like, "Okay, I'll see you later." I'm like, "Bye."
So, back to our talk. So I think we've already kind of wrapped it around, but I'm curious what San Diego's going to look like next year. Because this COVID mess is supposed to be kind of wrapping up after winter. They say like by April, June. Now I know they have a vaccine in the works right now and they're doing human trials. We might end up sooner, but the current get-go was everything after next April is currently on the docket and being slated and being planned. So
that's my mentality.
Yeah, so
I'm
wondering what is going to happen next year.
Do you have any theories?
I think it's going to be the first year for San Diego to not be the big show. Because you're going to have D23. We're going to have, like, this year you could easily chalk it up to they just wanted to do something, but it's still COVID.
Yep.
So next year is going to be the big test if they can do a show without the big Marvel presence and the big DC presence. And also, to follow that up, will DC and Marvel actually make a presence even if they're not doing big announcements? Because they showed up to a Skype call here, but how much effort does that take? CB Stobowski, what are you doing right now? Literally nothing, because you're stuck at home.
What's frustrating is when it's like it takes no effort and they still didn't do it, and you're like, hello, just talk about it. Do a show.
You don't even have to announce things. Why didn't they just go, so here's what we're doing in death metal right now? We literally, we had Scott Snyder talking about it on our channels, but you can't, Comic-Con can't get him out there to talk about it for 5 seconds?
Right, Comic-Con couldn't, I mean, like, literally that's what panels are for. It's just a group of artists and or writers to talk about the thing that they're working on. A death metal panel would have just been, hey, we got Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, the editor of the book, and, like, let's say 2 other people working on side books. You know, and moderated by anyone, like Grant Morrison, because he's just sitting at home. You know, you could literally get anyone to moderate it, and it would be well trafficked.
That either says that the DC is that unrelenting of what they want to have on there, or San Diego doesn't know how to reach out, or Scott Snyder just likes us a lot more than them.
I think it's some blend there of the two. I think they're just completely out of touch. I think it's just that they don't know like what would work, and they don't have the ideas. And by the time they do get the ideas, they're like, "Well, we're starting next week. There's no time."
But there is time. Like,
right. The thing is, it's a Zoom call.
Let me ask you this.
You could do it tomorrow.
That's what I mean. If San Diego were to reach out to you today, they're like, hey, we had a cancellation tomorrow. Would you and the comic historian guy be up for doing some stuff? Would you be like, nah, I'm good. That's too short notice.
It's just, right. I'd be like, done. And then I'll just call you and we'll work it out.
Yeah.
If I don't even hear from you that day, I'll just call you relentlessly until the next morning where you're like, what did you need? Dude, in 3 hours, we have a panel for San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, man, I can't do it. I got to stream Destiny.
Right? It's like, okay, well then I guess I'll call anyone. And they'll say yes. Because like, yeah, of course. My concern is that like...
You know what would be the hilarious thing ever, though? For whatever reason, my phone is off for the night, and I wake up to the 300 text messages. Where the fuck are you? Answer your phone! San Diego Comic-Con! Just a bunch of garbled messes. And
Yep. No, I think I'd tweet at you, or I'd tell your audience, like, you need to contact Benny. Like, just fill his feed. I'd leave comments on your videos. Benny, call me.
I launch a video, and the first comment... Benny, it's Sal. I'm going to talk to you about something really, really important. You're not answering your phone.
When was this? 3 hours ago.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not hard to do. My concern is, like, let's say that, like, Sony and every other company who normally spends a boatload of money on San Diego looks at their bottom line next year, and they go, you know, we don't need to go to San Diego. And so San Diego becomes like, so San Diego goes, well, we can't afford to like rent the convention center because because Disney and Warner Brothers and Sony and like every other major, like Microsoft don't want to pay to rent the space. So like San Diego Comic-Con is going to be it like regresses into like what it was 20 years ago.
Right.
Which would be kind of neat.
I kind of want them all to go back to the just like grassroots. I can buy comics.
Yeah, there's one merchant at San Diego, and like, you know, I don't think they're doing it anymore. It's weird. It's very weird. I think that we may see a recession of Comic-Cons, and what's really going to be the big indication is New York, because like if a vaccine is available September 30th, it won't be. But if it were,
even if the trials go well, it won't be in mass production.
Nope.
Even if this trial goes well and we break all records and get the vaccine out fast, which is possible, slim chance but possible. It's just it won't be as massive. It won't be out as much for us to do anything with.
No,
that's all.
Yeah, New York is going to be hit real hard by this because because Cuomo might just be like, no. I would say, nope, no convention. I don't care who's ready or what precautions you've taken. You just can't have one.
Right.
But New York and Reed, the company that owns New York, like their response and like reaction to this is going to be the big indicator, I think, because like New York is the next huge show, and they have made no effort to telegraph what they're going to do.
Well, I think they're in a holding pattern.
They're just waiting. Yeah.
They're hoping that at the last second, we're going to get the cure and it's going to be given out to New York and it's going to be great. That's what they're hoping for.
Yeah. But even then, that's not safe.
No, it's not. It's the problem. you can't even get people to wear a mask. You're going to get them to go get the vaccine. I know people that don't get the flu vaccine. I know. I'll be fine. It's okay. Like
I know the same thing. I will say, at New York Comic-Con versus any other Comic-Con, I could guarantee that the people guarding the door will be like, you can't come in without a mask, and there'll be people like plainclothes officers wandering the convention being like, you're not wearing a mask. Get the hell out of here.
I can see that.
Like, by the way, I don't want to wear a mask at a Comic-Con. Like,
why not?
You know what I mean?
Oh,
because, because there's already 10,000 people on top of me. Like, I'd rather everything be back to normal before I did that.
No,
like,
I agree with.
I just won't go.
If New York happens, I don't think I'll be there. You and I were heavily debating what to do when Emerald City was actually going to happen at the end of August.
Thank God we didn't, by the way.
Agree to go or
go because like it was one of the epicenters.
I know
of the
what you're saying. Okay, you meant like the one in March. Good, thank God we didn't go.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the one in August. Like they canceled it. Sal, I told you this.
Yeah, no, we didn't choose not to go to the one in August. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
but we were like, that's not a good idea. Oh, that was hair raising.
That was a thing that happened.
That was a thing. Yeah.
So. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the show. Our special San Diego show. Wasn't as much news. So for those who are wondering, Sal and I like to do the show when there are topics to talk about. I know a lot of you would I know a lot of you would hang around and just watch me and Sal BS about the industry and everything like that. But we prefer, like, when we look at doing this podcast, we look at it as being a show for you. Meaning that there should be some main topic. There should be something we're discussing. It shouldn't ever be, so how was your week, Sal? It should be, here's what's happening. And the pandemic and the COVID, when we take the days off, we both have a lot of other things going on. We take it off because we're like, hey, I got a lot of things going on, and there's nothing to talk about. So we're not going to make a good show. So
Right. So, I think we squeezed some blood from this stone. We got some real conversation out of, like, the fact that San Diego was pretty trim.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, this is my closing thoughts on it.
I'm going to do one thing before, as you do your closing, I'm going to Google this, but you said DC Comics is having a show right now at San Diego, so.
I heard that, yeah.
Let's see if they were announcing.
Yeah, is there anything interesting, like, coming from that? Because, are we going to cut this? Is this?
No. You said your closing thoughts.
Oh,
I said, while
my closing.
Yeah, while you do your closing thoughts, I'm going to.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. My closing thoughts on that matter are, this year, obviously, it understandably very trim, very slim, not a lot going on. But I don't remember there being a lot going on last year either. And
Marvel pulled out, and DC only had Joker-related stuff.
And so I'm thinking, like, maybe this was inevitable, and this pandemic hastened San Diego's decline by, like, 3 San Diego Comic-Cons. 3 San Diego Comic-Cons from now, it would be as bad as it is this year.
Right.
But now that it is here, I don't think we're going to claw our way back. I think it's going to be pretty bad.
I feel like this was inevitable, because when you're in a day and age where you can have a convention every other week and people will go and you'll make money, why would the big ones not do this themselves?
Right.
Why do you think you never see Disney at an expo? Because they realize if they just do one big Disney show, they bring in their fan base. I feel like this was inevitable that we're now breaking off. Like, even in the gaming sphere, we have the Microsoft show, which just happened. Halo Infinite would look amazing. But we also have the Sony show at the end of the year. And I feel like the inevitable was that Marvel would either go to D23 or have a Marvel Con, and that DC would come up with something of their own, the Fandome.
Yep.
I wonder if the Fandome is going to be like an actual convention next year.
I think it depends. I think it depends on, like, how much it costs. And here's the thing, like, it needs to be a perfect storm, right? Because the Fandome, like, you saw their outline. They have, like, a little graphic that shows you, like, a pictorial representation of what the virtual con would be like, and, like, you can go to this room or this room.
Yeah.
But I could see them going, like, if it was easier to coordinate all these different moving arms of this conglomerate under the DC banner, if it was easier to coordinate everybody than they expected, and they see the writing on the wall, and San Diego is, like, diminished, and New York is diminished, and, like, a third of the conventions that normally, span the country close or reduce, then I could definitely see DC being like, yeah, we're going to do our own. The Fandom is going to be, and they could do Fandom East, Fandom West. Like, I could see them very much doing that.
I mean, I could too. But all right,
absolutely.
Let's close up our thoughts on this. Sal, it's been a blast. Everyone who's watching this on the Comic Historian channel, post this. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, Absolute Comics is the show that we air every Tuesday over at our Comic Historian Podcast Network, twitch.tv/Comic Historian. Also gets uploaded to a separate channel so that if you just want all the podcast-related stuff and you don't want to go to our Patreons, which is how you get this content faster. If you want to support it, it's Twitch, it's Patreon, it's then over on the YouTube side, and you can go to our sponsors, of which today is go check out the Sandman Audible thing. I told you about it in the middle of today's episode. I don't really anything else.
Yeah, it feels like we pretty much nailed it, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Let's end our recordings.